Folks, are my best Scrabble playing days behind me? Should I just stick to making YouTube videos and hang up my board and tiles for good? These are the questions I was asking myself before my first big multi-day Scrabble event of 2026 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Not only would this tournament have several world-class players with major championships to their name to contend with, but it has literally been 6 years since I won a multi-day Scrabble event, despite almost always being in the mix until the very end. Still, regardless of the results, my goals for this event were to enjoy myself and to play as well as I can and nothing more. And on day one, I got off to a very fast start. In the 5 games that I played, I won them all, heading into this round 7 game against Io Adeyeri. So in game 7, I get off to a fast start. I bingo on my first 2 moves of the game. And even though Io has just bingoed with Henniest on his previous turn, I'm still up by almost 90 points with a relatively balanced rack. But then I see I've got a really cool option here in aptitude as a double-double through TI on the board for 44 points, which looks great. And I'm on the verge of playing it when I think to myself, well, is it possible that I have a bingo here through, for example, the N and E of Lionizes, or maybe the C and S of Quints and Lionizes? It's not likely, but let's just take a moment to look. And amazingly, it dawns on me in a flash, I have a word like that here. Cuspidate for 78 points, the only available bingo here, 9-letter word through C and S. I was really thrilled to find this. Io challenged it to give me an extra 5 points. I saw this as a really good omen that my word finding was in good shape going forward in the tournament. So I tried to carry that positive energy with me going forward here. And after another win in round 8, I moved on to round 9, where I faced a very different situation to start the game against my opponent, longtime expert Mohammed Suleiman. So Mohammed has the first move in this game, and he exchanges 5 tiles. So I have a rack that has a lot of duplicates in the N and the R, not enough vowels, but I have a good nucleus towards getting a bingo in a hurry, so I also exchange my L and then 1 N and 1 R, leaving the nice rent leave. And in response, Mohammed again exchanges 5, and to my RENT, I draw the A, which is good, but also 2 O's, which makes me not have a playable bingo here. So again, I'm really close to 1, so I exchange OO, leaving the even more dynamic AENRT leave. And in response, Mohammed exchanges a 3rd time. So if you've watched some of the older videos on my channel, you know that 6 consecutive scores of 0 in a Scrabble game ends the game on the spot, with both players subtracting the value of their tiles from their score. So basically, I am in a position where I have the option to end the game right now. And with Mohammed exchanging 5 tiles here, the odds of him drawing a high-scoring tile are pretty good. So I can exchange my 2 tiles that score more than 1 point in the C and J here, and as long as I don't draw another high-scoring tile, I've got a great shot at just winning this game immediately. And I basically decide I'm here at this tournament to play games of Scrabble, not just collect wins however I can get them. And I have a really good play available here in Jacent for a good score, slotting my J on the double letter score. So I decide to play that. Maybe as a content creator, I should have gone for the crazy 6-pass situation, just because I've never had that happen before. If you're disappointed in me, let me know in the comments, but I do play Jacent to get a nice early lead, and it works out for me as I win the game relatively easily going forward for my 9th straight win. So in my next game, in round 10 against the strong expert Erickson Smith, I get out to a small deficit in the early going as he opens with the bingo of onliner, and I'm down by 55 points heading into this turn, but I have the first blank, and I have a nice overlapping possibility for my ING combination, using the blank as an I with tanking for 75 points. And then on my very next 2 turns, I bingo again with deviates, and a 3rd time in a row with by names for 84, leading to this position where I have the Q and the U on my rack with a bunch of vowels and the W. and I play a Wii for 27 points here, which the computer engine loves because it sets up my QU combination so well to play through that A of a Wii for a good score. After Eric plays Gosh for 36, I draw just what I need to play Quare for 68 points. And the best part of this play, I can actually stick an R at the end of this as a hook as well, and I have an R in my leave. After Eric responds to this play by playing Hope on the opposite side of the board, I draw the F, M, and P, which normally you'd say, well, it's a little clunky. In this case, it gives me a massive bingo of pre-form for 119 points to completely ice this game. I've scored about 400 points over the last 6 turns of this game combined, and I cruise to an almost 250 point win. And I really feel at this point like I can do no wrong. I'm 10-0. So I'm looking to keep this momentum rolling into round 11 against the defending champion, Bradley Whitmarsh. I am holding on to a very narrow lead here, but it is Bradley's turn to move, and he makes a very uncharacteristic mistake here and plays out dives through the T of grunt. There's so many words that start with out in Scrabble that are completely bizarre. Out gnaw, out cavil, out dives feels perfectly plausible, but it is not valid. It strikes me as a little bit off, so I challenge it relatively quickly, and off it comes. And I realize with the letters that he just used to play out dives, he has devious at the bottom of the board with bigs. So I had been thinking, let's play Lisp, let's play Villi into the LI, let's play Clip, a bunch of different options that score well and keep decent leaves in reserve. But now I know that I have to try and block devious at the bottom of the board. So I come up with an option that the computer engine does like of just burning my S. It's actually hard to block it unless I use my S right now, and I play clips and bigs, which gives me a really good opportunity to prevent Bradley from bingoing on his next turn, solidifying my advantage here. So I continue on to a relatively easy win from here. So heading into the next game, round 12, I've got a perfect 11-0 record, and who should my opponent be but Josh Castellano, who also has a perfect 11-0 record going into this game. And I know what you're thinking, probably, wow, the fireworks are going to be flying in this game between these two great players. But take a look at our board. After 5 turns into the game, you will see it was anything but in the early going. But if we fast forward a couple turns later, I managed to bingo 2 times to Josh's 1, and I also tack on a 68-point Z-bomb on top of that. It really wasn't that interesting of a game, as Josh really struggled with drawing too few vowels for basically the entire game, and I won in a relatively easy one here. But we will be seeing Josh again later in the tournament, rest assured of that. So after another win in round 13, I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. This is the tournament where I went undefeated in 2017. I'm 13-0. Is it possible that I'm going to pull this off again? And I feel like the mere entertaining of that thought jinxed me completely going into the next game. It was a very tough one for me, and I took my first loss there. And what should my reward be for that but to get Josh Sokol as my opponent in the next game as well. So this game is relatively close in the early going. I get a bingo down in Tapeted, and Josh responds with 2 straight bingos of his own in Oundiest and Idolator, heading into this position where I have the second blank on my rack along with 2 S's. So I have really strong tiles here, but the board is very closed down. It's not going to be easy for me to fit a bingo on this board. So after looking for a little bit through the meager options that I have available, I settle on a plan which the computer engine does like, of just playing Peck here for 26 points, setting up my S's and blank with spec on the triple lane in a way that could be very difficult for Josh to block productively. So this is a good play, but the engine actually wants me to play one of my 2 S's here for 4 extra points, and I appreciate why that is. So normally you would be loath to play an S for only a handful of extra points because it gives your opponent valuable information that you have another one in reserve. But the thing about Peck is that I could have just played sep in that same spot if I was worried about the S hook here. So the fact that I played peck already is telling Josh, hey, I've got S's on my rack. Playing another one here for an additional 4 points is not giving him any extra information beyond that I have an S. It's the same deal. So I could have got 4 extra points and still made out very well here, but there is a star play here that I missed that's even better. Unfortunately, a bingo was available through the N and the L of spicknels for 98 points. An archaic word, a tough find, but I know this word and I am disappointed that I didn't come up with it here. Would have completely changed the game, giving me a much firmer advantage in the early going. As it happened, my racks really deteriorated in this game. Late in the game, I had a chance to maybe give Josh some of his own medicine, down by almost 40 here with a terrible rack and only one S out still to come. I decided to put some pressure on him and play Reggie for just 8 points, try to draw that S and something big to go with it. Josh didn't have that great of a play. He had to honor the spot, and he just plays org for 10, which gives me some hope that maybe I can find a way to come back in this, but I draw VVU on my next rack, and I limp to my second straight loss here by about 50 points. So with those 2 losses, I drop behind Josh Castellano in the standings again with his 14-1 record, but there's still 4 more games to go, and I very much control my own destiny, so I'm trying to keep a positive attitude going into my round 16 rematch with Eric Smith here. But things are looking a little bit tight in the late game with Eric up by 9 points and him on turn as I sit by with the first blank, praying that the eye of Feek stays open because I would love to play bigamies here to really take a big lead in the game and shut the board down. But Eric is too clever for that, and he plays off of the cue, blocking the eye with quitter for 34, taking a very solid lead. And all of a sudden, I am in deep trouble here. But there is one playable bingo available here, and thankfully I spot it in a tight spot here. Jambo through the U, making the blank an X. This is my only available bingo. After playing this, I draw the second blank. I have next to no time left here, and I need to buckle down and try not to blow this game under pressure. The best idea is to play 5-tile. F plays, slotting the Z on the triple letter score here, of which there are a bunch. Instead, I play Fez for 39. Not optimal, but it is a winning move, just enough to squeak me through and win this very, very important game for me in round 16. So I breathe a huge sigh of relief after that very, very tight win, heading into a round 17 rematch with Josh Castellano, a very, very important game. So this game is incredibly close. Neither of us is able to get clear from the other. I do have the first blank on my rack in this very, very close mid-game position, and I find my best bingo of Gourmands for 76, but this play does open a little bit what was a very, very closed down board beforehand, and it gives Josh just enough space to play Humidor for 71 to tie the game heading into this position, where my tiles actually look pretty good. Nicely balanced tiles. I've got ing, I've got an S to potentially pluralize walks in the upper right corner, but there are some threats to the lower right corner as well, namely the J, which could potentially play very lucratively through the E of Humidor, and I decide to play Searing for 27 to block off that spot and keep my S to maybe score well with in the upper right corner on my next turn. Now, this has a lot of things going for it as a play. The main drawback that it has is it uses both of my vowels with an extremely consonant-heavy unseen pool. Josh makes a really good choice on his next move here of Nitri for 31, keeping his E on his rack critically to give him some flexibility heading into next turn. And meanwhile, I draw one vowel after Searing, but that is just enough for me to be able to cash in my S in the upper right corner with Fuds for 40, giving me a very solid lead on what looks like a pretty bad board. So I'm feeling pretty good after this play, but now with the J still on his rack, but with two vowels to work with, Josh makes an absolutely killer play here of Jill for just 11 points. This is a brilliant play on his part. He holds the fourth and final S and is setting it up in a very lucrative way that's going to be extremely difficult for me to block, especially if I am struggling with consonant overload, which is exactly what happens here. As you can see, I drew a boatload of T's. I do have a solid play here of the spitting sound, which many of you probably look at as how could this be a word, of PHT. Scores 30, hooking prepay, giving me a 55-point lead. The problem with this, even with a lead that big, there are some bingos that Josh can have at the base of the board. If the final two tiles in the bag are AF, he will have the 7-letter Bewares, hooking Jills for a good score. And there are a couple other combinations of 2 tiles in the bag that will yield erasable or wearable back to Josh if I draw those after I play PHT here. And to my horror, after I make this play, I draw FA out of the bag, and I instantly know as soon as I see those 2 tiles, I have lost the game. And shortly after that, Josh plays Bewares for 102 to give me a frankly devastating loss because I truly thought I had this one in the bag. So after this game, I was a bit tilted, I will admit it, and I was seeing history repeating itself here. Another tournament where I'm at the top of the standings or close to it for most of the time, and I'm still going to find a way to not win this thing, aren't I? So I go into round 18 against Josh Sokol, the rematch, with not the best vibes. And the tile bag just does me the biggest solid here as I open the game with a bingo, 45-point Z-play, another bingo, and a triple to start the game. So already I'm up by 200 points 4 turns into the game. Couldn't have come at a better time for my psyche. Not that much to say about this one. I bagged Josh very, very hard. So that sets up a final round match with Josh Castellano, my 3rd meeting with Josh of the tournament, and the winner of this game is going to be the tournament winner. So I'm in a little bit of a better frame of mind here than I was previously, and it is another very, very close game. In the mid game, I am holding these letters, but it is Josh's turn to play. And I am praying that the H of huge stays open because I have a bingo there of over hair for 66 points. I've got a V and duplicated R's that aren't really going to do much good for me elsewhere on the board. So I really, really need that H to stay open. Josh picks up all of his tiles and gets set to play through the U. He's going to play a bingo that blocks over hair and puts me in a world of hurt. But then when I look at the bingo that he's played, he plays trucials, and I realize trucial is just an adjective meaning pertaining to a truce. So this is a huge, unbelievably lucky break for me. Josh rarely makes mistakes like this, so I'm able to challenge off the word and play my bingo in that spot. This is so rare of an occurrence, and I can't tell you how lucky it is that this happened in this game. But from there, I'm able to take command. Josh does respond with a bingo of guitars a couple turns later, but by that time, I have drawn the second blank, and I have one playable bingo here to put the game on ice, and I am able to spot it. Kidology for 98 points to give me a huge lead, more than enough to let me coast through to the end of the game with a win, and I have done it. I have won a multi-day tournament for the first time since 2019 with this victory. Look, this is not the biggest tournament on the circuit, nor did I win thousands of dollars for coming in first here, but I gotta say, it felt great to get another multi-day tournament win after waiting so long, so many years, so many near misses that start to weigh on you. So yeah, the result was everything I could have asked for here. I'm thrilled to come away with the win at this tournament. But as Scrabble players, we are trying to focus on process over results. Did I actually play well? So with that in mind, I took a look at some of the stats from my tournament to try to figure out the answer to that question. Did I actually play well, or did I just get lucky? The answer is a bit of both, with a healthy dose of luck in many, many forms over the course of the tournament. So as you can see, I had a decisive scoring advantage over my opponents, as you would expect, but also a decisive advantage in blanks drawn, which that certainly is going to help when you're drawing more of the most valuable tile in Scrabble than your opponents. But look at the challenges. Yeah, it is skillful on my part that I did not play any invalid words or incorrectly challenge any words from my opponent, but 7 phonies by my opponents, which I challenged off, many of which came at key junctures of those games. That definitely felt super lucky to me in the moment. But of course, I only missed 1 bingo over the course of the tournament. That's definitely a measure of skill. Only Spicknells got past me there at a key juncture of that game against Josh Sokol. So I'll take that as an example that my vision is in good form. So in the aftermath of this tournament, I get a new peak rating in the WESPA system. I move up to 12th overall in the world, just outside the top 10, with a who's who of the great Scrabble players in the world ahead of me. No complaints on that score. Would love to somehow break into the top 10 if possible. If I can just string together 1 or 2 more good results, that would be an amazing goal to achieve going forward this year. But yeah, really successful first tournament of the year. Hope you enjoyed this recap video breaking everything down. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to my channel as I work towards 100,000 subs if I can get there by the end of the year. And as always, thank you for watching.